Hello guys, welcome to a race at Spa with Absolute Beginners League. So 20-minute race. This is race number 2. Race number 1 was quite boring, as is the start of this race, because these cars from standard start, they just bog down and they're really underwhelming. This was a reverse grid race where I ended up in second position. My first race I qualified in 12th, or I qualified in 10th, and I finished in 4th. I don't know how everyone fell off, so I just sort of drove. I think I passed like one car at the start and another car throughout the race. It's quite boring. So this race is a little bit more interesting because I'm trying to fight for my life against all these guys. It's quite a shallow reverse grid. So one at the front is like 3 really quick people compared to this grid. And one of the guys is at the front. He's going to disappear. And there's two other guys behind. So it's quite shallow. It's quite instant. They're always on you instantly. So it's going to be quite intense. I'm not very fast around here. This is my first time. This is an open setup race, and this is my first time driving an open setup in this car. I'd only never driven fixed setup in the Tanzo leagues, and yeah, this was kind of new to me. So traction controls off. It's about a second a lap quicker. The front end's a lot different, and yeah, it's a bit weird. So we're on board with Marcus now. He's one of the quick guys, and he's up my chuff quite soon, and yeah, we're going to see what he's going to do. Also in this race is Pete Bryan, who's back for the first time in ages. Hasn't raced in ages. This is his actual first car, his first drive in this car, his first race in this car. There's only about 15 or so racing, so it's quite spread out. In the first race, he got collected by a car that had hit the wall in front and just come back out. No fault of his own, really. Pete couldn't avoid it, and the guy couldn't avoid going back into the circuit. So it was just unfortunate, but one of those things that happened. So the leader, I think, as Johan's had a bit of a wobble, and yeah, Marcus is just kind of seeing with his opportunities. Johan's tripped a little bit wide. It's just just coming out the back of the circuit now. And yes, so what would have been about back 5 or 6 here. The guy in the Rusties, the guy in the Lightning McQueen livery. That's another one of the very quick guys. And he's sitting behind waiting to see what happens. Pete's also in the back of this shot as well somewhere. So we're 2x2 through these corners. They're quite narrow cars as well, so it's it makes a really good side-by-side racing, although the damage model can like interlock and cause problems, but hopefully we don't get that close. So the guy in front, I think Neil Bamber, I was chasing this guy in the first race and I was closing him down. I don't know if he had damage or not, so I kind of knew that if I was around this guy I could probably try and keep up with him. But he came out very well from that. Johan dropped back a little bit, and it's three quick guys all behind. I think someone had a bit of an off back there as well. So on board with me, chasing down Neil. I'm quite good on the brakes. I do take a little bit too much to that curb. We've been pondering through Erosion Radian what gear to take, because you're at the very top of the rev range in 5th gear, and having 6th gear bogs you down a little bit. So we kind of decided to leave it hanging in 5th. And just try and like keep the car as straight as possible, not scrub too much off. That was quite a good one for me, I think. It seemed like I was like a second or so quicker in the race than in practice, because as I said, I hadn't practiced this a lot. I practiced it in fixed setup the day before, but I didn't know it was open until the practice. So I quickly found a set on a forum, but I don't think it was a setup that was amazing for this sort of track, really. This car is really good fun. Obviously, it sits at the top of the revs in 5th or 6th ranges, but it's still really good fun to go through some of these corners. This is Pete on board. So yeah, obviously Pete's first time in this car. He's actually quicker than me. Well, I mean, he's always quicker than me anyway, but even with a bit of practice, he was on pace. It's just having the confidence to push and go for it and get back into the swing of the racing, really. But it's good to see. So he's at the back of his train here. If anything, if we all fight, he'll catch up and he'll have a much more fun experience. I think he's chasing Kai Apstead down. I think he was chasing Kai in practice as well for quite a bit, if I remember. And he was faster in practice than this guy, so I never noticed before he had yellow gloves. Kind of looks like a crash test dummy. So So yeah, you can see at the front again, everyone's sort of bunching closer together. And we're going 2x2 again. This is with Johan, he's recovering a little bit, and I think we're on board with Marcus again. Do I have to lift to get us through this? Yeah, I think we're going to go 2x2 through this. Ooh, I give a bit of a squeeze, but we both survive. I think this is the start of lap 3. So this is David Burns on board. I think he's an admin, but he's one of the very quick guys. And again, he's slowly coming through. I thought these guys might have come through quicker, to be fair with you, but I think me and Neil are driving the socks off at the moment, just trying to keep up with them. That wasn't an intentional send by me. I just got caught out on braking, so I had to get into the source a little bit more than normal. Well, you know, which is good because I scared the other guy off the apex, so that's a bonus. I had to just heal duck in then. And there's Pete just cresting right in. So I've shuffled down to 4th, but it's like a 5-6 train pack at the moment. And I'm going to get done by David here, I think. Looks like. He's going to get the tow from Johan as well. And I think the other guy is going to get in as well. I think they presume that Neil might be quite slow through this entry. Almost. But I hold that. That's good. I think David backs out. So we're on board with Tony Hayes now, and you can see the difference between someone who's in the pack and someone who just wants to sit at the back and not get caught up in anything. The advantage of Spa as well is that you can sit off the back on these infield section, but like on the two big straights you can just be up and then, so you can get your time back that way. So it's all kind of line of stern. I think we're going to flip back to Pete Bryan in a minute, see how he's doing. So he's just a couple of cars behind Tony. I think Kai Upstairs in between still. And I've called this one defensively attack because we'll have to find out in a minute. I'm off the back of them. I'm not massively in the tow. I don't know if I get them all under braking because they're all quite compressed, so they all have to sort themselves out. And I think I can just roll into this on the brakes. Maybe, yeah. Door's been left open, so I'm just going to roll in. Going to try and keep him off the apex, which I don't, but. So I tuck in there. I think I've got David up my chuff as well. So I think one of the there he is. One of the reasons I stuffed it there is so he couldn't basically, and he actually runs wide here, and I think he gets a slowdown. So let's go on board, find out. There you go. He's off it serving. David J. But he'll catch up in a couple of laps. Warder with ducks back. Annoyingly on this rejoin, he serves his slowdown just at the wrong time for Pete. So he goes into the source and Pete's on the outside. So Pete has to yield. Live back. As a result, he's a little bit too far off for David. He's dropped a little bit further from Kai, and David's got Kai's toes. So what Pete's going to find now is if he has a bad Rouge and Radion, he's just going to lose the toe from these two guys as a result of that, and that's just unlucky, really. How can you get around that? Well, maybe you could probably be a little bit more aggressive when side by side, but you know, sometimes it's worth it, really. So this is Ender Kemmel. We're still behind Bam, but Bam was a little bit slower than these two guys, and that's nothing bad on Neil. Those two guys are just a lot quicker. So there's the cork in the bottle effect, as I am at most tracks, to be absolutely fair, and most cars near me. So they're past him now. So I expect them to try and break his toe. If they work together, they can break his toe. But now it's really imperative that I get up his chuff. So I'm overdriving a little bit into that. And don't forget, I've got Burns behind me at some point. He'll catch up and he'll want through. So I've got to think about that. This is all reverse grid politics, really. The cool thing about this is David's actually got past Kai, and now Pete's up him as well. So I'm battling with David Sorry, I'm battling with Neil Bamber, and Pete further behind is shot there. He's actually up with Kai now, so he's getting his money worth. And here we are, we're on Pete, and he's got. Oh no, sorry, this is me on the back of Neil, I think. So good trying to drive that, and I don't drive this car on the limit, but you try to, you know. Some people are better at it than others, but I do enjoy it. Slow cars fast, baby. So this league is absolute beginner league, but I wouldn't call it a beginner league. It's good for beginners, but it's not like Tanzo Group, which is a league I've done previous that has a lot of new to league races in, and is really good for that. These both are really good leagues, but these run a GR86 league, and they run like an IRO4 league, I think, on alternate Sundays as well. So all like free to enter. So I think this is the end of lap 4. Gotta love a good chase down around Spa, ain't ya? I think it's time to see how Pete's getting along. He's on the back of Kai again. I think this just shows a little bit of ring rustiness, race rustiness, because he drops back there. I think he makes a little bit of mistake under braking and just loses the apex there. Probably not confident enough to get in behind, and yeah, you can see he drops back a little bit. I think that's the first race in 6 months, a year, whatever. That's kind of what it does to you, really. And this is start of lap number 5. I'll let this speak for itself.
No, God! No, God, please, no! 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 No!
Oh, hi, Peter. Yeah, so, first half of the race done. I hit too much curb. These things don't like it on 3 wheels, and I just sort of spun. I come out, I rejoin, I consider quite safely, but there's a 2-car battle behind me. This is Halfried Jansen, I think his name is, and he's absolutely on my chuff now. Yeah, and he's got a car right behind him as well, so I couldn't get out of his way coming down that hill. I wasn't going to get out of his way coming down the hill, but there's now a fight on. So I've gone from one fight where I cocked up and lost it, in another fight, and this is also quite a hot fight. So we are on board with Nick Boyle now. Nick Boyle, I think, if I got his name wrong. If I got Halfried's name wrong, I apologise. It's just my I'm not very good at names, basically. So Halfried is going for ascend into Kemmel, which is understandable. I don't know what my tyres are doing at this point. Nick just thinks, "Go on, I'm getting out of that. That sounds like hell." This guy's had a spin or fallen down from pecking order. He's probably tried to kill someone, so we don't know how fighty he is. So he's willfully backed off. Probably a good idea because he's right up my chuff now. So yeah, that's quite good going from Nick, I think. As I said, this is my first time racing in this league for 2 years, so it's you've got to try and learn how these guys race, and they've got to learn how you race to sort of build up the trust, isn't it, really? So yeah, you can kind of understand that. So now I'm having to chase Halfried down. I think this guy was much quicker than me in practice as well, so he's maybe having a recovery drive of his own. It's a lap 5 of 9 lap race, certainly. Also, as well, this is like round whatever of these guys' championships, so I want to have a race, and I don't want to hit anyone, but I've got to be mindful of these guys who are in a championship fight. So this guy's not as smooth as the other two. Slowing them down a little bit. Sorry, not the other two. The guys further up the grid, so it's having to adjust to how these guys are. This is earlier in the lap. I completely missed this, but this is Pete, and oh, sorry, this is me actually, and yeah, Nick, who was behind us, just got a little bit squirrely, lost it, and spun off. So this is a battle for 2 now, but this is also Pete. He's still behind Kai Apstead. He's fighting for 7th position. I'm fighting for like 9th, I think. So yeah, now he's catching back up with Kai. He's still alive, so he got out of this all right. Good boy. So, this one of us might finish quite high, right? So back to me, and I'm right up Halfried's chuff again. The car behind's like a lap or so down, so he's not really something I need to worry about. I'm going around the outside this time. Am I going to hold it? I was driving a little bit aggressive at this point. No, the guy behind didn't hold it, and Halfuda decided just to duck out and let me have this one, I think. We'll see what he does. I think he's just going to give me a little bit of a push to say, hello, I'm here. Is he going to send it? Nope, just drops off to see what I'll do. I try and V this off a little bit, which is, to be honest, it's all I've been doing. I'm not very good at like the late brake and turn in anyway, so I always try and V corners like that off. He is a lot better through there than I am. He should completely mug me on this straight now, I think. But I don't know if he ducked out of it. I don't know if actually that turn of the wheel scrubbed a little bit of speed off, but he's yeah, he's not taking advantage of it. Obviously, he had to drive around the outside of that little kink as well. So yeah, he decides to duck back into the draft. And this is just a gap check really, because further on that lap I open it up a little bit to here at the end of fill on, but also yeah, towards the end I have an absolute stinker in the next couple of corners. Yeah, so it has opened up a little bit. But I think this next right-hander I have a stinker, and by the end of the lap he's right. Not only is he right on my chuff, but he's getting significant straight line. I mean, this is open setup. I do forget that. Maybe he's just got a setup that's much better in the straights than I have. We saw that in the last lap, didn't we? We saw that at Rouge, sorry. I do a crap job at finding an apex there as well, so that wasn't that good. But I think we're on to lap 6, and this is Pete, who was still chasing Kai down, and he just got too many wheels on the curb. And I think the fact, you'll see on the onboard in a minute, he brakes late, so all the weight's over the front as well, which doesn't help. As a result, the rear just loses a little bit of traction, and he loses a bit of front bumper. So that's him done. He decides to take a tow and retire there. So he finishes further down in like 13th, I think. But that's his first. You know, this is like second race ever in the car, really. And his first race, he finished in 11th. So he's doing all right for himself. This is an attack from Alfredi. He's finally got the tone. He's finally got the correct side of me on the inside, and I think he's going to get this done. Significant overspeed coming into the corner. But like we saw with Peter lap ago, that's a big old turn from him, and he just loses a little bit of grip at the rear again. Once again, too much weight over the front and too much of a sharp sort of turn, and yeah, he loses it. Thankfully, I didn't hit him. Thankfully, he didn't get any damage. I think he finished. But let's face it, I was hooping that happened, because it was like a lap or so out from the finish. So you know, the pressure was off. For the first time in the race, I think I had like clean air. So this is it. This is the finish of the race, the end of lap number 8. And I finished in a lowly 8th position after starting in 2nd. So hope you all enjoyed that, chaps. And yeah, hopefully I'll see you in the next one. Au revoir.